This is a continuation of our video series on caregiver stress and support. So, in this presentation already, you've seen so many different coping strategies. And so you may be thinking, how on earth do I even know what to pick at any given moment? Like, if I'm going through XYZ, what's the best way to cope? And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is like, with all these different coping skills we have, how do we choose the best one for the moment and for the emotion that I'm experiencing or the challenge that I'm facing? So I think first it's important to start here. It's really easy when we're feeling a lot of heightened emotions, or we're going through a really stressful experience to kind of get immersed in it and to lose sight of the bigger picture. And what I mean by that is our emotions are not directives, they're data. They tell us really important things about what is important to us, what we value, or what we need in the moment. Every emotion that we have serves some sort of function. And if we can kind of take a step back and be an observer of our emotions, to be a little less fused with them, we like to say, it can really tell us what we need in that moment. And so different emotions are going to require different ways to cope. So for instance, let's take the emotion of anger. Anger is a really important emotion. We may judge it sometimes when we feel that way. We may think that we're wrong to feel angry, but actually, anger, if we can take a step back, we can realize that anger tells us either that something really important to us is being threatened, or it can also motivate action. Anger is something that really makes us motivated. It makes us want to act, right? And that's okay if we're intentional and if we're mindful, right? If we're reactive in the moment, if we don't take that time to step back and think, what is my anger telling me right now? What feels threatened? What feels in danger? Then we may act rashly in ways that we could actually ultimately regret, right? And so being able to think about our emotions this way is so important for then being intentional and making a choice that's going to be best for us, hopefully in the long run. So, another example would be sadness, right? We can sometimes judge ourselves for feeling sad, like we're supposed to be happy at any given moment. But actually, sadness is a really powerful human emotion as well. A lot of times it does tell us about things that are important to us. If we're feeling sad about a diagnosis, that could tell us that there's maybe even some underlying fear there of things that we're going to miss or lose out on. Or it could tell us that our social circle is so important to us. And what sadness seems to do is it really facilitates bonding and caretaking. It can signal to others around you that you need more support, right? It can encourage you to seek out support and to really ultimately get more connection and community in your life. And so even something like sadness that we may judge ourselves for is a really important and powerful emotion. And so different kinds of emotions, like I mentioned, will naturally require different ways of coping. So depending on what the need is, there are going to be better coping strategies than others. So how do I know which to use? So first you want to try to sit with, if you're noticing you're having a lot of strong emotions, can you start to pick them out? Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I irritable? Am I impatient? Any of those different things. What is that feeling right now? And then pause and think about, what could this feeling be telling me about either what my needs are in the moment or what's important to me? And then on the next slide, I'm going to show you this worksheet that we developed where you can start to identify the category of coping. So there's different categories and ways that we cope that's going to be best matched to your needs. And then on that spreadsheet or on that worksheet, you can then write down some specific ways that you can cope. Because what's so important is not just to think about these things in the abstract, but to actually make them concrete. What are specific coping strategies in each category that you could turn to when you need them? So, distraction is a form of coping, and we may think of that as universally bad, but distraction is not universally bad. Actually, distraction can be really useful, especially in two circumstances. So, let's say that you have a medical test. And so you go and you get, let's say, the MRI or the PET scan, and you're really anxious about what the results are going to be. In that interim time between when you get the scan and when you see the doctor to go over the results, there's not really anything else that you can do for this diagnosis, right? So you might be ruminating, you might be spinning through all of the what ifs, the worst case scenarios, and that's completely understandable. But anxiety is an emotion that prepares us for future action. It helps us to prepare ourselves for danger and to get ourselves out of danger. But at that point, if you're waiting on results from a scan, there's really no other step that you can take, most likely, in that situation. You've had the scan, you've done the thing that you can do, and now you have to wait for the results. So, distraction can actually be really useful in that context for helping to distract your thoughts and to get your mind on other things in that moment when that anxiety is no longer serving you. That ruminating and thinking through all the worst case scenarios and what ifs isn't really productive in that moment. Distraction can also be really helpful if your emotions are just too heightened to think rationally. If a major thing happened, you're extremely worked up, it's often useful to try to get your mind off of that immediate stressor until your emotions can kind of come down a little bit. Emotions are like waves, they're going to crest and then they're going to fall. And so if you can kind of ride out the intensity of that motion and maybe get your mind on other things, that can be really useful. And then when you have a little more cognitive capacity, because when we're in that stress state, we're not thinking clearly, then you can take steps to deal with the stressor. So here you'll see some examples for different clients that we've worked with, doing some arts and crafts, reading, watching movies or TV, cleaning, going on a walk if you're able. Things like that are great distracting activities. So, self soothing is another form of coping. That's just really a way to take care of yourself. For some people, it's going to be like bubble baths and candles and some of those things we typically attribute to self care. But it's just really any activity you can do that helps to soothe you. So, self soothing is especially useful when you're feeling sad or lonely or when you're physically unwell. So, if you are sick or if you're experiencing side effects from medical treatments or if you're experiencing side effects from medications, etc., then you may need some self-soothing time. And so, again, this looks different for other people. You might want to cuddle with an animal or a loved one, candles, relaxing music, a weighted blanket, or taking care of your body in loving ways. And I think that's especially useful if we're feeling a little disconnected from our body or if we're feeling a bit at war with our body. Then doing something even like taking a bath, taking a shower, doing our hair, painting our nails, etc. Any of those things are just ways to nurture your body during a tough time. So, emotional processing and support can be really useful if you're feeling really conflicted. Do you have a lot of big decisions? Is there a crossroads in front of you? Rather than keeping that all in your head, it's typically really helpful to talk it out. Are you having existential concerns? Are you having concerns about death or dying or the next steps in your life, etc.? If you need to make a decision about something, if you're sad, lonely, physically unwell, as you can see, this is useful for a lot of different situations. So, if you don't feel like this is something you're ready to talk to someone else about or that you can't talk with someone else about, then really journaling is a great option to get your thoughts. There's something that transforms when you take your thoughts from your brain and put it on the page or say it out loud. It's transformative. And we have a lot of research to back that up. If you do have a loved one that you feel safe and secure talking about this with, then turn to them and talk to them about it. A lot of people find a lot of healing in joining a support group of people who are going through a similar situation as you. That validation and that normalization of your experiences is really powerful. And if possible, finding a therapist or someone that is like trained to help you work through these issues is one of the best steps you can take. Relaxation is another category of coping. That's really useful if you're feeling very anxious or tense. So if your body, you're physically feeling the stress in your body, doing some relaxation, some meditation, some mindfulness is going to help turn that stress response off. It's going to help kickstart your parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically the thing that tells you to rest and to calm down. And of course, if you're feeling physically unwell, so things like meditation, there are a ton of different meditation apps. One of my favorites is called Smiling Minds, and it's free. All of the meditations are free, but there's a ton of free meditations on YouTube, for instance, Spotify, any of those streaming services. Guided imagery, progressive muscle relaxation is a particularly powerful one. That's not one that you can do like out in public if you're really stressed, but it is one that you could do at home. And again, tons of videos for that on YouTube. Getting a massage if it's accessible to you, bath, some gentle yoga, being in nature, or gently moving your body in some way. All ways that you can kind of bring that stress response down. And then stress management, of course, for when you need to make a decision or if you're really overwhelmed or stressed. So, some things like activity pacing, so breaking up big tasks into steps and doing one step at a time. Sometimes we get overwhelmed and we don't even start when we think, oh my gosh, I have this huge thing I have to do, or I have 10 things I have to do. Well, you can't do it all right now, right? You can't tackle the big thing all at once, or you can't tackle the 10 things all at once. So, what's one step you can take? Break it up, pace it out. Find your good enough. This one's huge for me. It's something that I started doing in graduate school. I'm not going to be able to be perfect in every single realm of my life. Where do I want or need to put the bulk of my energy? And then for the other things that do need attention, what is good enough, right? What is my good enough? Sometimes creating a pros and cons list, it's often, I think, helpful to then talk through that with someone else. Making small goals, small manageable steps. You don't have to and you can't reach all of your goals or tackle all of it at once. So making some smaller goals along the way can help you feel successful. And then again, journaling or talking with a loved one. So that's all that I have for you. Appreciate the opportunity to teach you some of these skills. And thank you so much for your time.